Hi, I'm Dr. Vstrom, and today's upgrade is an engine protection bar accessory which comes from Hepco and Becker. It was chosen because of its great characteristics as far as quality, weight, price, looks, and how well it matches not only with the lines of the motorcycle but also with the other accessories that are already installed and the future ones which will be installed. And talking about accessories, I'm referring to the fuel tank guards that are already installed. There's a video up here if you want to watch it. And the future engine guard that I'm going to install, which can be either OEM or whatever other brand. Many thanks to my newest memberships member, Wiggy Soptastic. Wiggy, thank you so much. There's a video up here on memberships for my channel. So if you want to help the doctor, go and watch it, and why not become a member yourself. So the bars altogether weigh around 2,800 grams or 2,850 grams, give or take. Together with the plastics and bolts and washers and everything else that we need comes down to approximately 2,943 grams, let's say 3 kilograms, give or take, altogether. These are the tools and equipment that we will use to install the Hepco and Becker engine guards. Some of the parts and tools are mandatory and some are optional. Starting with the main parts, it's the engine guard itself, which consists of 3 parts, 3 components, 2 side ones, and 1 central one which connects the 2 side ones. A torque wrench capable of adjusting to 21 and 23 Newton meters is mandatory, as well as a wrench ideally with an extension. A socket of size 12 to remove the existing bolts of the accessory bar. A socket of size 10 to install the 4 small bolts on the centerpiece of the engine guard. Either 2 hex keys, one of size 5 and another one of size 6, or 2 sockets with edges of hex keys of that size. 2 optional plastic bags labeled, which I'm going to use to store the existing bolts to be replaced by these and these bolts. 2 long bolts which are inserted inside here on the top part of the engine guard. They have plastic caps. You will be using the hex key or socket with hex edge of size 6 and also come with these metal spacers. However, if you already have the Hepco and Becker fuel tank guards, you will not be using these spacers. These are only used in case that you install the engine guard separately without any fuel tank guard. So in my case I will not be using this and this spacer. I will be using the long bolt caps and I will be using optionally, this is not included in the set, 2 rubber washers, because I'm not going to be using the metal spacers. In their place I will use these rubber washers. They are of size 20 x 14 x 1.2 millimeters, and I have included them to reduce the vibrations between the metal surfaces. They are not mandatory. 2 medium size bolts, Allen bolts, where the hex key or socket with hex edge of size 5 is going to be used, and these will be replacing the existing accessory bar bolts. They come with their own washers and do not have plastic caps. 4 bolts again with small washers and caps, which are going to be used, like I mentioned, to connect the central part to the side parts of the engine guard. Optionally, I will be using copper grease on the bolt threads. And last but not least, a glue gun, which I'm going to use to secure the plastic caps on the bolts, not to lose them due to vibrations or any other reason. First location, and this is the accessory bar bolt that we are going to replace with the medium sized bolt that I showed you before. from either side. So 2 bolts on the back bottom of the accessory bar. This is the second location, the top location for the engine guard to be installed. As you can see, I already have the Hepco & Becker fuel tank guards, and because I have them, this part, this metal bracket from the fuel tank guard is going to take the place of the spacer which comes with the engine guard set. So I'm not going to use the spacers, but instead the bolt will pass through this fuel tank guard bracket. That's why we don't use the spacers. Let's first remove the accessory bar bolt on the bottom, which is of size 12. This bolt from the accessory bar is going to be replaced by this longer bolt with a washer. We will use the plastic bag to store the existing bolts. Now let's remove the fuel tank guard bolt, which is of type hex and size 6. If you don't have fuel tank guards from Hepco & Becker installed, you don't have to do that. The bolt is not there. This small bolt will be replaced by this long bolt. This spacer that comes with the engine guard will not be used because I have in my case the fuel tank guard from Hepco & Becker, and this metal bracket from the fuel tank guard will take the place of the spacer which is included, so we will not be using this. So if I didn't have this fuel tank guard from Hepco & Becker installed, I would use this spacer that came with the engine guard, and I would install it from the inner side here of the engine guard. So it would be like this. But now, because this bracket from the fuel tank guard is here, it will be installed without the spacer like this. Again, we will use the second plastic bag to store the fuel tank guard existing bolt. Both spacers from the engine guard are going to be included in the bag where we store our to be replaced bolts. Optionally, like I mentioned, I will be using this thin rubber washer to insert it between the fuel tank guard bracket and the inner part of the engine guard. Optionally, I have applied some copper grease on the long bolt. I will insert it through the top part of the engine guard. I will insert the rubber washer over here. I will install on the top. I will be using the hex key of size 6 for this. Now that the top engine guard part is somehow secured, I haven't tightened it yet, I will install the bottom bolt on the accessory bar over here. The Allen bolt of size 5, I applied already copper grease, again optional. It has also got the washer over here, and I will tie it by hand with the key of size 5, like so. Now let's repeat removing the bottom and back side bolt from the accessory bar of size 12. Let's install this bottom bolt. I have removed the undercover just for you to see how this central part is installed. This part goes on the top and from the inside of the exhaust, on top of the oil filter, and passes to the other side. And this is the other side. So these are the small bolts with the washers, and I forgot to mention that you also need a socket of size 10. Assist with your hand and pull into position. Tight the bottom one, and now let's move to the top bolt, this one. So my advice when you install from the other side is first to grab this part and this part, pull them together, then install first the bottom bolt, pulling like you see. Now it's going to be easier for the top bolt. Again, pull, and start to tight slowly. Now before you fully tight from one side, go to the other side. I'm not going to give you torque values for these 4 bolts. We will only snug them like I mentioned, tight them like in a logical amount. Now let's torque these bottom bolts of Allen size 5, 23 Newton meters. 23. Moving on to the long Allen bolts of size 6, hex size 6 that is. And this is 21, and from the other side 21. For the large caps, take a rubber hammer, you see, and repeat also from the other side. Now for the small ones, these are cups, so we will insert some hot glue and insert it, because I don't want to lose them. Put some glue, hot glue inside the cup, install. Another thing that I want to add is that when I suggest products or review products for you guys, they have to be of good quality and they have to be functional. And so this central bar is functional, is of good quality and functional, because as you can see, it doesn't come in the way of the oil filter wrench. As you can see, this engine guard also provides additional and required protection for sensitive parts of the motorcycle, like this one or this one and so on. So I went for a ride and there is no noise or vibrations on the engine guard installed or the fuel tank guard, but I will keep you up to date as the time passes by. Thanks for watching, and as always, ride safe.